All right. Testing, testing, testing. Looks like it's good. Let's see what we can pull off today. All right, all right, all right. Welcome back to the Malapert Smart Podcast. Let me see if my audio's coming through. All right, it looks like it's coming through. So, I got a TNA Genesis review planned for you guys today. Not quite exactly the show I wanted to do, not quite the way I planned it. I had planned to do this extravaganza of 1 month of TNA, like the entire build leading to Genesis, but life got in the way last night. This would have been like a 3-4 hour show, but I had prepared it, but I don't have time to actually do it before I got to work, so I have like 45 minutes before I got to start taking a shower and going to work. So instead, I'm just going to do a quicker version on the fly here and just talk about some things from Genesis and some things from the build to it as well. There was 5 weeks between the last pay-per-view and this one, Final Resolution and TNA Genesis, but only 3 shows. So 2 of the shows that ended last year were review shows or best of, year end type of shows with nothing new on them. So there was only 3 TNA impacts between Final Resolution and Genesis. And I wanted to do a review of all of them, but you know what? Instead, I have done all the reviews already. Every week I post on my blog my reviews from every show, and I have done thumbs up, thumbs down reviews for all 3 of these. There's a, or there are links in the description below if anyone wants to see them or follow along. Because I'm just going to run through some of real quick. So I'll jump back. I'm going back in time 3 weeks to the beginning of the build for Genesis, and I'm going to run through and see if there was anything worth talking about on the way there. So I'm starting at January 2nd. This was the beginning of the year, all the way the day after New Year's. So let's read about some things that happened on that day between Joe Hendry and Ryan and Nick Nemeth. So this was kind of the end of Rhino's run. This was where Rhino got like a couple last appearances before I hear he is done after entering the TNA Hall of Fame this past month. But let's read some of my reviews. So sometimes I can't remember everything that happened, but I do summarize things and try to review them and give what I thought about it. So Joe Hendry was out to cut a promo on the entrance ramp that day, and Ryan Nemeth came out to express his mistrust for Joe Hendry, as I would put it. And he claims that Hendry is trying to tarnish the reputation of Nick Nemeth's title run. And obviously, Ryan Nemeth was a very annoying guy. I don't even want to play. I was going to play a lot of clips from him if I was going to do like the full version of the show that I was going to do. But let me just put it to you. Nick Nemeth's brother, Ryan, is really annoying. Really annoying. I might play a little bit later from Genesis at the promo, but anyways, the crowd was giving Ryan Nemeth a hard time, and this led to a match between Ryan Nemeth and Rhino, as Joe Hendry did a general managerial move that day and just said, hey, let's do that match right now, and Rhino came out. And this was a bit of a story that ended with Rhino getting DQ'd because he hit Ryan Nemeth with the chair that Ryan Nemeth brought into the match. But there you go. And then later on in the day, I remember that Nick Nemeth came back, and this led to them making a tag team match for next week. So I gave this whole thing a half thumbs up. Here's a comment that I made at the time. Ryan Nemeth is really killing things for his brother. I don't know what's up with Ryan Nemeth. He might be one of the most annoying people ever. This was what I thought that day. But okay, we'll come back to that. I'm going to move on to some other stuff that happened here on Impact from January 2nd. Jordan Grace and Tessa Blanchard. Man, Tessa Blanchard jumped Jordan Grace during her match. It was an 8-man or 8 knockout tag match, as I remember it. Heels versus faces, and Tessa just dragged her out and dragged her literally out of the stadium through a hallway and just slammed the gates on her completely disrespectfully, trying to take back her locker room, as she puts it. So this was pretty intense. I gave this a fire rating. I remember that. I thought this was pretty damn good. The Rascals and the Hardys. All right, this was their gushing over each other. Well, at least the Rascals gush over the Hardys, and they expressed a desire for a tag title match with their heroes, and that match got set for Genesis. So we do have the results of that. I'll review Genesis in a few minutes after I go through Dynamite's impacts real quick. Kushida and Moose that day. Moose beat Kushida. Or what happened? No, Ace Austin beat Kushida. I'm sorry, I am misspeaking. So after Ace Austin won that match, he was cutting a promo about moving on from his tag team and starting a singles run and going after the world title. And that's when Moose came out and said, "Hey, this is the flagship title now in TNA." I thought this was great. So this was the way they set up their X Division title match for the month. Santino did come out and make that match for Genesis. I had given this segment a 2 thumbs up. I really like this. What else? Okay, this match did happen at the pay-per-view as well. This was the one match where I was kind of confused as to really why they were fighting. It wasn't really clear. But this has to do with Steve Maclin and Eric Young. So, and they have Jonathan Gresham on their side too. They've been friends. And the way I remember this segment, they were just hanging out and talking about what they were going to do when the system just rolled by, and they were talking about also getting a tag title shot. So since they're like, going after what they're going after, they just kind of jumped them. They jumped the system backstage. It was a really quick segment, kind of slapped together. This one I didn't really love too much, but I still gave it a thumbs up just because it was weirdly funny and spontaneous. There was some unintentional comedy here that I thought was pretty good. All right, let's jump to Santana and the Northern Armory. We're still on I'm doing the Impact from January 2nd, if anyone's just jumping in. I'm doing 3 weeks of Impact. I'm running through the storylines they did before the pay-per-view before I give my thoughts on each match that happened. I got like 30 minutes before I got to get to work, so I think I could squeeze that all in. But this was my favorite stuff going into Genesis. Santana and the Northern Armory Santana and against the Northern Armory and Josh Alexander. Blah, blah, blah. But yeah, this was the good shit. Josh Alexander comes out with his stable and tells Santana that he's all talk and he'll never be the man as long as Josh Alexander is in TNA, as he puts it. That's what this was all about. Because Josh Alexander considers himself the standard, and even though he's not the champion, he thinks he's the best. And he's hearing Santana coming out talking about being the man, and he's just not taking it. He's like, since I'm here, you will never be the man. And this led to Santana challenging not only Josh Alexander, but all of the Northern Armory for a gauntlet match. So they had that the week after. This was another 2 thumbs up from me. Good stuff, good stuff. What else? There was that 8-woman tag that I mentioned earlier, the one where Tessa Blanchard ended up jumping Jordan Grace at the end. But other than that, there was a bunch of heels and stuff in the ring. I think highlighted by This Is the Elegance is Ash and Heather by Elegance. They are holding up the tag team titles because Spitfire were also in that match. So while Jordan Grace and Tessa Blanchard were out fighting outside, there was stuff going on in the ring. But this was a segment that I thought was kind of not very focused. So they couldn't really focus on what was going on in the ring, and the show just kind of ended. It was a little awkward. They didn't really highlight the fact that these heels got over in the ring, but that is what happened. Oh, and then this stuff. This also started here on this day, on January 2nd, Impact. Kazarian and Leon Slater. This one I'm not a huge fan of. I think it was a little funny. Kazarian's pretty arrogant, telling, Leon Slater that he could mentor him, but really he was just kind of angling to have someone who would hold his bags. But I gave this a thumbs up because I thought Leon Slater did well to reject his offer because, I wouldn't have want to see Leon Slater be Kazarian's lackey, honestly. Moving along, so I'm going to jump to the January 9th TNA Impact 1 week later. This is 2 impacts to go until Genesis, so let's run through what happened on this day for the storylines. This one is involving the System against Eric Young, Macklin, and Gresham. So on this day, the System, I think they took out Gresham after the match. Post-match, the System attacked the victors, and they appear to seriously hurt Jonathan Gresham. Yep. And then backstage later on, Eric Young and Macklin were pissed, and they cut a promo claiming they will get justice in their own way. So I thought that was a decent promo. I gave this a half thumbs up on that day. What else do we got? All right, we got the world title business. Joe Hendry, Kazarian, Rhino, Nick Nemeth, Ryan Nemeth, all involved in a storyline here on this day. This was Rhino's, maybe his last match, from what I hear. I think that was the end of his contract. Kazarian joined commentary for the main event to keep an eye on the champion, obviously, in case there's a chance for him to cash in. Joe Hendry and Rhino. They did defeat the Nemeth brothers in this tag team match, so Hendry pins Ryan Nemeth, so he didn't get a pinfall over Nick Nemeth, but they did stare each other down to end the show. All right. What else do we got? Oh, this one was really good. This one didn't end up being anything on the pay-per-view, but this Savannah Evans, Lei Ying Lee stuff, this happened a long time ago. I think maybe a couple months, I would say, when Savannah Evans came back and she took out Lei Ying Lee, and she wanted her spot on the card because Lei Ying Lee was getting matches, and Savannah Evans thought, hey, if I'm gonna get matches, I gotta take this girl out. So she did, and there was never really anything coming back from it. Lei Ying Lee didn't do anything; she never returned, but this was her return. So they did finally come back to this storyline. I gave that a thumbs up just for people who were following it closely. I thought it was kind of a cool callback. But Lei Ying Lee did get some revenge over Savannah Evans there. I like that match. Jordan Grace and Tessa Blanchard. All right, here's some pictures of them having a pull apart on this day. Tessa Blanchard, who came back at Final Resolution to attack Jordan Grace, then again attacked her on the Impact before this one on January 2nd. So let's see what happened on this week on January 9th. Jordan Grace, she interrupted a backstage report from Gia Miller to call out Tessa Blanchard, and she called her a bitch. So this shit is heating up here. Later, Grace cut a promo in the ring calling out Tessa, saying if Tessa really thinks it's her division, Tessa is going to have to go through her. Tessa enters, and they brawl for a minute until officials intervene, and the two try to fight through security. All right, so their fighting, their work looked really good. I gave this 2 thumbs up. I like this. Santana and the Northern Armory. Oh, this was the day that they had the gauntlet match. I'm on January 9th Impact. So Santana attempted to go through the Northern Armory. Santana defeated Judas Icarus first, then Travis Williams by pinfall. Also, Josh Alexander comes out for the final match, but it didn't really even start. The rest of the Northern Armory immediately entered to cause a DQ, and Santana wins. So you would think that could be the end of a feud, but no, obviously because they beat his ass, so they leave him laying. And Santana, gangster that he is not going to accept that. But the crowd did get some shot. The crowd have been murdering Josh Alexander lately. On this one, they chanted, "You are stupid. You are stupid." The next week, they're going to chant, "Bald ass head." So, man, they have been torturing him. But it's great. What else? Next one. I'm still on January 9th here. The personal concierge. She said they were going to do a pre-launch championship celebration by Elegance for Ash and Heather. All right. Well, that's a good idea, I think. It's interesting. I've never seen anyone actually celebrate their championship before they won it. But cool, cool. Oh, this segment was fantastic. Rosemary and Raven. Rosemary cuts a backstage promo on Masha Slamovich, says she sees cracks in Masha. Raven appears. I guess they just hang out. Kind of funny. Raven appears and questions whether Rosemary is ready, saying it's been 8 years since Rosemary held gold. Then Rosemary pulls a knife on Raven and holds it to his throat. Raven appears to smile as he suggests a Raven's Clockwork Orange match. So Rosemary can do all the depravity that she wants, and Rosemary liked the idea. I'm obviously going to give this segment a heart because I just love Raven. And this was a pretty damn funny, good segment. I didn't know that these two hang out, but it makes sense. All right, the Good Hands and the Rascals. So that's just a win for the Rascals ahead of their big tag team title match with the Hardys. First Class step up to Eric Young and Macklin. This leads to a match with them next week, but it's really just a vehicle for the System's feud with Macklin and Young. This one didn't really go too far. I think they just had a tag match next week, but they are both in that tag team division. I guess I like the First Class was trying to say, hey, we're trying to do something here. AJ Francis just lost that match to Nick Nemeth, but he deflected off that pretty well. It's like, hey, we're gonna fight for these tag team titles too. So all right, that's fine. Half thumbs up. This segment was really good with Moose and Andrew Everett from the X Division, and it led to an impromptu match between them. I really love this segment. The funniest part was when Moose was trying to tell Andrew Everett, when he was trying to tell him, I'm just trying to figure out who the hell you are, because I don't know who, and I'm the same way. I've been watching TNA solidly for like 3 months, and I didn't know who the hell this guy was. I have not seen him one time on TV. So that was not a very outrageous thing to say. I did not know who Andrew Everett was. But this is the second time in a few weeks that Moose just gave a impromptu tag X Division match, X Division title match to a lowly X Division guy. Plus 3 points on my review. I love that segment. Sami Callihan. Okay, this was interesting. Sami Callihan was trying to get into that tag title match with the Hardys and the Rascals. Well, he didn't really want to get in there. I think he's just saying he wanted next, but Santino offered to have them win a way into that match if they beat the Hardys next week, which didn't happen. But didn't really like the idea that much. You know, everyone's waiting for that super fight between the Rascals and the Hardys, so I was kind of hoping PCO and Callahan wouldn't win this, which is what happened. All right, well, I'm going to take a little intermission before I move to the January 16th Impact, and then we'll do Genesis after that. All right, I'm back. We're on our way to doing our TNA Genesis review. Before that, I was doing the 3 impacts leading up to it, just glossing over some of the storylines, making some comments, reading some of the comments I made at the time. I have links to all my blog posts that I'm following in the description below. But I'm on January 16th, so this is just 3 days before Genesis now. This is the last one. This is the go home. Let's see what happened here. All right, this is more of that Kazarian, Leon Slater stuff. Leon Slater beat Trent Seven on this day. And a heel Trent Seven showed respect to Leon Slater after the match. That was a little bit surprising. And then Kazarian looked like he was going to sneak attack him, but Slater caught him in the act. But I gave this a half thumbs up on this day. Kind of like it is what half thumbs up is on our rating system. All right, the last segment between Joe Hendry and Nick Nemeth. They've been doing these very nice video packages on Joe Hendry obviously kind of insinuating that he's going to win that title because they wouldn't be given as much time and effort as he did. But not to play spoiler here for what happened on Genesis, but let's read what happened on the go home for this storyline. The planned show ending segment was an in ring face to face between Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry. And then Nick Nemeth finally addressed the whole JBL thing. Okay, so yeah, this has been a big plot hole for what's been going on in TNA. Why is JBL continuously helping Nick Nemeth? And every time they bring it up, something happens to distract from the whole situation. So finally, Nick Nemeth addressed it and says that he has nothing to do with JBL. Then Ryan Nemeth comes out, our favorite, and he runs down Joe Hendry, calling him a snake. And then Ryan proceeds to attack Joe Hendry, and Nick has no choice but to defend his brother, and that's where we see the picture that we're seeing now, where he did a super kick on Hendry. Nick Nemeth seemed somewhat guilty that he did that, but he had to defend his brother. So, all right, a lot of Ryan Nemeth involvement, but I'm glad that they finally addressed the whole JBL thing. We'll see JBL in a minute as I go and run through Genesis, but I gave this a half thumbs up on this day. What else happened? Oh, this was a great segment. This was that the pre-launch celebration for Ash and Heather that the personal concierge set up, but Spitfire came in and ruined it for them and destroyed. The gifts that he gave were like cardboard cutouts of them with the tag team titles, but this is the personal concierge just in pain over what happened. That guy is that guy really puts it out there in these shows. I'm a big fan. Moving along, I'm on January 16th, 3 days before Genesis. Running through the storylines. What else do I got here? Sammy Callahan and PCO against the Hardys. So the Rascals were watching backstage because if the Hardys lost this, the tag title match at Genesis would have been a three-way, but the Hardys did win. Half thumbs up, PCO. Really funny segment with him and Gia Miller. So I thought that was pretty good. PCO really gets into his character, so I gave it a half thumbs up. I gave it some credit for my review. All right, Steve Macklin and Eric Young, they defeated First Class from that segment from last week. And then the System come out afterwards to kind of taunt at Young and Macklin from the entrance ramp and show unity with their rings, I guess. Indifferent for me, not too much of a fan here, but Rosemary and Masha Slamovich, they had a confessional. Actually, by the way, they did show footage from WWE television of Masha Slamovich at NXT the night before, or 2 nights before, and she was watching Cora Jade's match. Interesting stuff there, but this one was I guess they were in a confessional booth, talking to each other, making confessions. Very interesting, good segment. Thumbs up from me. +1 on my rating system. Santana and the Northern Armory. This was the last chance for Santana and Josh Alexander to jaw jack at each other. Gave it a thumbs up. Good segment. This was where they chanted bald ass head at Josh Alexander. Jake something gets a win over Laredo Kid. All right, he didn't really factor into the pay-per-view. Actually, he did on the pre-show. He fought Ashante the Adonis. I forgot about that. Ace Austin. Nice video package for him. Talking about his history in the X Division. His relationship with Chris Bay. I really like that video package. PCO and Sammy Callahan. Okay, so this is the number 23 that's been appearing from time to time. It's been following PCO and Sammy Callahan around. I don't know. I'm going to reserve judgment until I see what happens. So, and indifferent for me on this one. If this could come to something or it could come to nothing. I don't know. Regardless. Oh, the last thing. Jordan Grace and Tessa Blanchard. So before the show ending segment, so before that Joe Hendry and Ryan Nemeth segment, at the announcer's desk, Jordan Grace called out Tessa because Tessa hasn't signed that contract yet. And then afterwards, After that segment, the Joe Hendry, Nick Nemeth, Ryan Nemeth stuff, Tessa shows up, signs the contract, and then they end up getting into a fight where Jordan Grace lays her out. So this kind of made me feel like Jordan Grace was not going to win that match. But for the work and the fighting, 2 thumbs up from me. All right, finally I made it. TNA Genesis. I ran through those 3 impacts beforehand faster than I would have. I would have liked to have played some clips and some promos, but I got no time. I got 20 minutes, man. I got 20 minutes before I gotta take a shower and go to work. So I'm gonna run through what happened on Genesis before Impact tonight. So Impact in about 5 hours. I think the best time to do a review of these type of things is 2 times. Either right after it happens, obviously everyone wants to know what you think of it, but also I think right before the next show. I always think there should be a pre-show that kind of reviews what happened last week because, a lot of things have happened in the last week and it's kind of hard to remember, honestly. So we have lives too. And so I always wish that before like Raw and Dynamite, there was this like 30-minute type of show where they would, you know, review things, review what happened last week. TNA Genesis is here. Pre-show. Let's go over some of the stuff that happened on the pre-show. Ashante the Adonis. He showed up from NXT. It was crossover, and I guess he sort of hit on Ariana Grace, but he's in some storyline in NXT with Harmon Petrovich, where I guess they're already a couple. So that guy just cannot keep keep himself away from women. But Jake something also got something to do on the show. He ended up winning this match, but I was impressed with the work. The work from Ashante the Adonis was not bad. I've never actually seen him wrestle, so interesting surprise. I voted his storyline with Carmen Petrovich the worst angle in TNA last year. No, the worst angle in wrestling. Sorry, TNA, all of wrestling. But the NXT and TNA relationship is interesting. I mean, I say it's definitely good for TNA. It's better than the relationship they had. It's better for them than the relationship they had in WWE or with AEW. Excuse me. Blah. Uh, TNA, it's better for them to be in relations with WWE than AEW. Let's just put it that way. If we all want to be realistic here, it's definitely more more clout, more respect in the community. Moving along, moving along. Kazarian and Leon Slater. Kazarian ended up winning that match. JDC kind of distracted Slater by accident. But all right, main show. So here we go. Moose and Ace Austin. I actually have some pictures. We might go through some of it. From here on out, this is where we're actually starting our review. There's Ace Austin. There's Moose coming in. There's that title, the X Division title. That's a new belt. I was going to play some of this, but it started off very intensely. Very intensely.
Since the beginning of TNA wrestling back in 2002, a chance to give an opportunity to wrestlers from all different walks, all different backgrounds.
Woo! All right. This is Ace Austin suplexing Moose. This was a great move. Great move. That was crazy. Here's Moose accidentally spearing Fandango, JDC, his own guy. All kinds of distractions. See, here's Ace Austin doing a flip over the top rope onto the system guys. Here's a false finish. This is a great move from Ace Austin. Diving into a spear. And here's the finish. It was a spear. A Moose spear. And Moose keeps the title. Excellent match. Excellent match. As the system appeared to attack Ace Austin, Macklin and Young come out. So that leads directly, and that's a good lead into the match they have next. So they may as well start the system against Macklin and Young. Myers and Edwards, as they put it. Here's Eric Young. Fight starts. I think that's where Eric Young takes out Eddie Edwards and leaves Steve Macklin to do a finishing move on Brian Myers. It's called the KIA. The KIA. The winners are Macklin and Young. Spitfire against Ash and Heather by Elegance. Oh, by the way, I did give that Moose Ace Austin match a thumbs up. The system against Eric Young and Steve Macklin, an indifferent. But we're moving on to Spitfire against Ash and Heather by Elegance with the personal concierge. Spitfire defeat Ash and Heather to retain the Knockouts tag team titles. Here's some pictures of Ash and Heather coming in with their Dallas Cowboy cheerleader outfits. Here's Spitfire. Here's Ash distracting the ref so that Heather can hit her with pom poms. Okay, yeah, that's gonna do a lot, but this is going to be a victory for Spitfire. So even though Ash and Heather by Elegance celebrated their victory on the last show, they did not win the tag team titles. All right, I got about 18 minutes left before I got to go to work, so I got a few more angles to run through. But this is a victory for Spitfire. What did I give this here? Reviews, half thumbs up from me. All right, let me move on. I'm going to move on to the big main event of the evening. This is the Nick Nemeth and Joe Hendry stuff. Kazarian, who was on the pre-show, facing off with Leon Slater, had a promo in the middle of the show talking about how he has that call your shot gauntlet, so you always got to keep an eye on him. But I'm going to move on to the main event. Sorry, I'm trying to produce this show at the same time. Santino was out on the entrance ramp to cut a promo with Mark Henry and Tommy Dreamer and Gia Miller. And that's when Ryan Nemeth came out. And Ryan Nemeth was so annoying that Santino banned him from the building. Well, he interrupted their segment, and he knew he could get involved. So Joe Hendry comes out for his big match with Nick Nemeth, and let me just go through it as we can see what happened here. Oh, Ryan Nemeth bought a ticket to get back into the stadium, so he's there. This is a fall away slam off the middle rope, and this is where Kazarian is going to come in. So Kazarian does actually cash in his call your shot. He runs in with the trophy, and as he's going to cash it in, this is when JBL comes out. So every time JBL is here to help someone or help Nick Nemeth, maybe he's just fighting for justice. Maybe, he doesn't have to do. But why is he fighting for justice in TNA? Why does he care about TNA? It doesn't make much sense. But Brian Nemeth also comes in, and he takes a shot from JBL as well. So now it's a fair fight. There's JBL leaving, and this is Joe Hendry's chance. Joe Hendry counters a super kick into a fallaway slam. I guess that's one of his big moves. Doesn't seem very devastating, but okay, they sell for him. Into the standing ovation. And that's it. That's the victory. We all believe in Joe Hendry. He did it. I thought it would take a little longer, honestly. I thought they would save this for the summertime, but nope. They went ahead and got the title on him, and people expect him to be at the Royal Rumble. So, two thumbs up for me on this one. Happy for Joe Hendry. We all believed in you, Joe Hendry. What about the JBL stuff? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he didn't help Nick Nemeth, so maybe he wasn't in cahoots with Nick Nemeth the whole time. But what is his purpose there then? I don't know. I guess we might have more to find out eventually. Moving along, I got like 10 minutes left. Let's see if I could fit in the rest of the show. All right, this is a good storyline. We got Santana and Josh Alexander. It's an I Quit match. So let's go through what happened. Not going to go through it in detail. Here's a fan sign saying Josh's hair already said I quit. Santana coming in obviously through the audience because he's one of the people. This was fantastic. This was my favorite feud heading into this show by far. This was the best thing in wrestling. Here's a slapjack. I mean, I'm skipping chunks of this match, but Santana had to literally threaten to murder Josh Alexander to get him to quit. And I think Josh Alexander said, what was the last thing he said before he actually quit? Here, I'll play this for you.
You'll never be the guy, Mike. Jesus.
Didn't quit. So then that's when I think Santana threatens to smash his face into the steel steps. And Josh Alexander, the guy's got kids. We've seen his kids. So he actually did quit. That's where he quit. Santana won the match. And he got the mic and said, hey, you better shake my hand and show me respect. And Josh Alexander did shake his hand. And then he quit. Josh Alexander said, not only did I quit this match, but I quit TNA. So that's the end of Josh Alexander, I suppose. But I did give this rating a +3, so a heart. I love this. Great stuff. Moving along, the Rascals and the Hardys. And Fraxium, believe it or not. So this is the super fight dream match between the Rascals and the Hardys. But Fraxium kind of busted into the party and they took seats right in the front row. It's kind of disrespectful. What are they doing here? But hey, that's a big star from WWE. It's their champions. It's not just some people. I mean, this new deal they made with WWE, they are getting some better wrestlers. So that's good. But this is where they kind of got into it. I guess the Rascals kicked the Hardys into Fraxium, and it looked kind of weird and lazy, not very good, but it did lead to them fighting, and that's the Rascals went for a through the rope dive, and they missed the Hardys and hit Fraxium, so they got involved. They took some bumps, and then they got escorted out by security. And they left them to fight to finish the match. And I think after a couple of twist of fates, that's their finisher. I suppose it seems they do two twist of fates on someone and then a swanton, and that should finish anybody off. So the Hardys win. They retain. What did I give this? Half thumbs up. It was okay match. I thought it would be more entertaining. I think the Fraxium stuff kind of took away from the other stuff, but Jordan Grace, Masha Slamovich, Cora Jade. Well, Cora Jade is supposed to be a surprise, but I ruined it. Rosemary against Masha Slamovich for the Knockouts title. So this had a lot of hardcore stuff, a lot of spots. I guess I'll play some of them. Staple gun. Oh no. Staple in the armpit. That was probably the worst one of the day. What else we got? Spit to the face from Masha. That one wasn't that bad. Let's see what we got. Table spot. Rosemary off the apron through a table. Think Masha Slamovich here. That was a tough one. Ate shit on the outside. Thumbtacks, wood, nails coming out of pieces of wood, barbed wire, everything you'd expect from a hardcore match. I'm at Masha Slamovich versus Rosemary. This was a tough one from Masha. Going off the ladder through, I guess she was trying to go through both tables, but kind of missed. That was a near fall. That was not the finish. Pile driver. Man, there's so many crazy spots in this match. Rosemary really took a lot of damage. It's a win for Masha Slamovich. And then Cora Jade comes out from NXT. All right. She couldn't get into that North American title scene on NXT, so here she is on TNA looking at that Knockouts title. All right. Another big star. It's pretty good for TNA, man. I think this is good publicity for TNA. Can't deny. Thumbs up for me. Plus one thumbs up. All right. I think that's it. Or did I have... Oh, I didn't do the Tessa Blanchard stuff. Why did I skip that? Let me see. It feels like I missed something. I don't know why I jumped over something or what. Storyline number 5. Tessa and Jordan Grace. There's got to be some highlights from this that we can watch. Let's see. Here we are. Here's Tessa Blanchard coming out. I thought this was a really good match. There's a fan. There's a Tessa fan in the audience. Undeniable Tessa. It's got to be related to her. There's Jordan Grace. Intense start to the match. Excellent work from Tessa Blanchard. Whatever you want to say about her personally, I don't have any comment on, but she's a great worker in the ring. She was selling. Here's a reversal off the top rope into some kind of, I don't even know how you describe this. Let me see. Jordan Grace, obviously, being very professional here, selling for Tessa. They had a very professional, good, solid match. Here's my criticism of the match. I would have gave this a heart, but I only gave it 2 thumbs up because she was trying to get this bottom turnbuckle off and she couldn't do it. And then she still did her move on it anyways. And so that one didn't land. I think she took the second turnbuckle off though. Tore it off somehow. There you go. Yeah, that's how you do it. Finishing move. There's a victory for Tessa Blanchard. All right. So I think that'll conclude my TNA Genesis review. 2 thumbs up on that one. All right. I rushed that, but hey, if anyone just wanted to know what happened, this is a pre-show for tonight's TNA Impact. Get ready for the show. I guess we'll see what they got planned next.